Alright, so I am here on my MacBook laptop, which I know operates a bit differently than an iPad, but we're going to walk through some of the options that I was able to figure out using Apple's default preview program to look at PDFs, example for classes. So I did test Adobe Acrobat Reader and opening the PDF in the Safari browser and the built-in Zoom annotation function, and none of them were as versatile as the preview program. So I'm going to open my PDF in preview just because my default is something else and show you what we have. But then also, just as a note, I will be trying to switch back and forth between what the student sees. So here I have an example of a student on a phone and what they'll be seeing. And then here's a pen for scale. So again, it's not a perfect system, but I'm going to start sharing my screen, and then I have all these other participants just so we can see how many students we can or can't see when we are sharing our screen. So I will make this bigger. Okay, so here's me sharing my screen. This is my Zoom toolbar. So I'll move this to the bottom. We'll have a couple different toolbars throughout this demonstration. And then before I get too far, I do want to show you, okay, so here's my little student bar. And if you're not familiar, there's a, see the active student if there is one, and then a kind of a ribbon, I guess, that goes either across the top or down to the bottom. No in between though. And then there's also a gallery view that you can click and drag into whatever shape. And frankly, you can make them kind of big, but again, you're always sacrificing some screen space on your own screen. So what I want to do though is, nope, that was right. All right, and then I want to show you what the PDF looks like to this student on their phone right now. So as you can see, it's kind of small. It's kind of hard to read the words. I know it's not a perfect dot cam, but you can kind of make out the words now. Some students may not know they can zoom in like this, but again, that's kind of like a lot of back and forth. Frankly, I think it's more than they need to be thinking about. Some of them may also have their screen set up so that when they hold their phone horizontally, they can flip it, interact with it a bit wider, but this is just an example of what they are then seeing. So, although, yeah. So let's just set this back to portrait view because I do see most of the students showing up in portrait view on their phone. So let's minimize this for now and start talking about what our options are in this preview. So if you are on an iPad, it might be easier for you to just use this scribble function and use your finger or stylus to write. The only downside to that is if I go back and try to dot my I have to make an entirely new scribble. So they are, and then if I try to move it, it does not move together. So that is something to consider. We'll undo that. But I did find it useful. So for example, fill in the blanks using, so again, that's this upper right hand icon next to the toolbar. So a markup toolbar, that's what it's called. I did find their text box useful. So deep pockets. I don't know the actual vocab that's supposed to go in this. So the useful part about this is, one, you can, when you click away and start a new text box for the second answer, maybe here, you can still go back and move this previous one around without much of a hassle. I'm just clicking and dragging. So that is useful. And it was not a feature that the Zoom whiteboard or Zoom annotation bar easily offered. And then one other useful feature for the preview is on this rightmost icon in the annotation toolbar, we have where we can edit our font and make it bigger. And that actually does help with what the students see. And then when we open a new PDF, maybe the next week, the font size is still set to what you had it at last. So you won't have to go in and adjust it every single time. And so if we want to see what our student is seeing now, make this bigger, and then hold this up in a way that's more acceptable for the camera. So, and adjusting. So that is slightly better. I don't know if you saw, but my font was bolded. So this isn't terrible, but it does require the student to kind of know how to manipulate their own screen if they want to kind of get the most out of it. And especially with the level ones, that might be asking a bit much. So let's minimize that. And I just wanted to show you. So my font is bolded. That's what it looks like, not bolded, bolded. So just some food for thought. So I'm going to stop my share and switch back to my face. And hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Yeah. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will also try some other options. So, but this is the best one I've found so far. Hopefully it was clarifying and or you learned something new to help. But again, you really can't go wrong with just holding it up to your camera and or a whiteboard and a marker, frankly. So